Greetings. Today's talk focuses on a series we have going in which Bob Lutz does his analysis of the disaster of Tesla's bankruptcy inbound. Today's segment of that focuses on the case of BMW and how BMW is dealing with the success of Tesla and whether or not BMW will survive Tesla being successful. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. First time on our channel, welcome. New on our channel, welcome back. We also want to thank our subscribers as well as our Patreon supporters. Your support is greatly appreciated and definitely impacts our viability. Also wanted to note we do have ads in our video, and we'd really appreciate you watching 10 seconds of it. It supports the channel in that way as well. Today's show is basically, it feels like a bad idea on one hand, but on the other hand, it's a good idea. What it's about is the fact that we try to do at least a once a month update on what the Bob Lutz analysis of Tesla is. As you know, Bob had said Tesla is doomed and going out of business. And then he subsequently has been impressed by how the company has been doing and the number of cars produced and the quality of the cars, despite his conclusion that they're still going out of business. So what I wanted to cover today, and in not a very large or long show, is the fact that there's a company called BMW. Bob Lutz used to work at BMW as one of many companies that he worked for. And some crazy stuff is happening at BMW, and we wanted to run through the details of what's happening first and then jump back to where things are going, etc. So the first thing is that the CEO of BMW was either fired or quit, and the basis for this was the fact that BMW had an early start when it came to responding to electric vehicles with both the sports car as well as their i3, and they've done nothing since. And while they have a long list of scheduled vehicles that are going to be arriving, they've sort of fallen behind the curve. And now, instead of just dealing with Tesla being successful with Model 3 in the United States, they have to deal with the fact that Tesla is now entering China and Europe, both markets, which BMW relies on for large portions of their earnings. So basically, the board of BMW decided that the CEO's response was insufficient, and they weren't doing well enough in the form of, if you look at VW, and both Mercedes and VW, as well as other major makes, have done a good job of preparing for a Tesla response, and they weren't seeing a similar response by BMW. What I found amazing and why this show was interesting today is that one of the potential new CEOs for BMW came on, and he indicated a set of interesting data points, and perhaps there are three of them. The first is, what he indicated was that BMW isn't getting any requests for EVs. They're getting requests for hybrids, etc., but they're not getting customer demand for those EVs. So this is an interesting point, because on one hand, Tesla is selling 100,000 models or 80,000 Model 3s and killing BMW's primary business, which is the sale of their 3 Series BMW in the process. But the customers aren't walking up to their BMW dealer and saying, I want an electric vehicle. I think it's partially because Tesla really has the ear of the customer, and BMW really doesn't offer a solution that's viable in that space. So that might be affecting the degree to which they're getting requests. So basically, BMW was saying, we ain't getting no requests, so we have no interest at all in producing a vehicle or getting a real vehicle ready in this space. The second point made by the potential CEO candidate for the company is that the i3 is a $45,000, $50,000 vehicle, and the price of the vehicle is with 50% or so of the cost of the vehicle tied up in batteries. What it means is that when you hit that price point, the size of the battery is going to be so small that you're in that 100 miles of range, 125 miles of range. And most people don't want to pay so much money for a vehicle that's so constrained in its utility. So bottom line is the data feedback that BMW is getting on their i3s is that most people don't want to spend that much money for a car that has such limited capabilities. What he also pointed out was on the flip side of that, you have a $90,000 vehicle that you could put on the streets that now has the 2 to 250 miles of range that customers want. But now, as you enter that $90,000 price point, at least in US dollars, in euros, it's probably, US dollars 110K. The number of customers that can afford a vehicle at that price point, particularly after taxes and everything, is really low. So manufacturers like BMW, Mercedes, etc., are kind of in deep trouble because the number of high-end customers that are there for those EVs is kind of low, and they need to spend, because they don't make their own batteries, they have to charge that much to have a car ready that people might want to buy. So bottom line is BMW's current and future leadership is saying that there's a pickle right now, which is battery technology doesn't allow them to deliver a reasonably priced vehicle that customers on a large scale would buy. So hence, they're not interested in really producing a vehicle. And so I was kind of like, wow. And so the third point that I want to make here is it's amazing to me how statistics can work, because while people are buying their Model 3s and driving them happily, they aren't going back to BMW and saying, where's my Model 3 equivalent from BMW? The other thing that I'm fascinated by BMW is I actually had an M3, thought the car was awesome. I really feel like the M3 was BMW's sort of introduction to the auto industry that really changed the game in terms of what people were driving. And awesome car, but the challenge was mega repairs. So most people know that when you're dealing with a BMW, you typically are exposing yourself to a large run of repair bills. And we've actually talked about this before, where we had one customer who purchased a Model S back in 2012, and he indicated that one of the reasons, well, one, he liked the car, it performed well, but he really enjoyed it partially because of the transition from $5,000 a year in repair costs for his 3 Series or M3 to almost no maintenance on his Model S with as good, if not better, performance. So it's interesting to see the pickle that companies like this are in. And as you all know, or as you know, there are only 17 moving parts in the engine portion of a Tesla. So this further complicates the issue of, as people adopt electric and they move away from having these mega repair bills, and it's really shifting the marketplace on what's going to happen. So another data point on that is the fact that most people know that you can't really own a BMW or Mercedes beyond warranty, because those are fairly small runs of cars that have been produced, and the repair parts for those vehicles are actually very high. So most people end up simply trading in or selling their vehicle as soon as they get beyond the 3-year lifespan of a lease. So that situation, bottom line, is one in which customers don't have to deal with once they move to electric, because you have fewer repair issues. So this brings us to our whole conversation about Bob Lutz and his analysis of the fact that Tesla was going under for a number of reasons. The biggest Bob Lutz analysis was that if you look at every one of the major manufacturers, be it in Korea, Japan, or the United States, each company had at least 20 models planned, started arriving in 2021 through 2025 to actually saturate the market for EVs or electric vehicles with all of these new products that would destroy Tesla. The challenge that's popped up, though, is that, number one, as you have this increasing usage of certain raw materials, it's raising the cost of those raw materials, and in essence, pricing most consumers out of a usable price point for most of these vehicles. So we've covered it numerous times that most consumers were saying, if you give me 100 miles of range, there are 25% of the buyers out there willing to deal with that. That's a $40,000. So unfortunately, we're rudely interrupted. But in general, the issue that pops up is that we're facing the fact that Bob Lutz's analysis may be off. And his analysis is off based on the fact that there's no battery for all those new models that's being delivered by new manufacturers. And so therefore, you have companies like BMW that are kind of in trouble right now. And that's sort of the focus of our talk today in terms of interesting circumstance. So unfortunately, we need to truncate here. Just a reminder, about to do my 20 leg lifts. Please remember not to go to bed within 2 hours of eating, preferably 4 hours. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss, macht's gut, au revoir, lehitraot, choda hafez. Enough respect in Jamaica. Ni hao ma. Have a great day and look forward to all your comments. And thank you all for the hellos and highs from Spain. And for all the other folks, we definitely can see you, but we can't say hello right away because it messes up our ability to connect with our customers or viewers on a regular basis. Please leave your comments and questions. Look forward to any and all. Have a great day and thanks and bye for now.